Aboard the USS Lincoln and the lack of planning from Pete Hegseth's Pentagon ahead of President Trump's war of choice with Iran. For weeks, we've been reporting on the grim conditions on board as the war grinds on without any clear endgame, concerns about wear and tear from 6 months of constant combat, potentially putting service members at risk. A mental health crisis with reports of crew attempting to jump overboard, broken showers and toilets, rationing of food, shortages of basic essentials like soap or toothpaste. One retired Navy commander told MS Now, "We didn't plan for this war. We just sort of did it on the fly. And when you fight a war as a pickup game, this is the kind of stuff that happens." Let's bring in MS Now's Pentagon reporter Priya Sridhar. She has that brand new reporting today. Priya, tell us, what are the details here?
Hey, Alicia, I think this is such an important question, especially because so many of the officials in this administration have tried to deny that there were any supply shortages on this ship or deteriorating conditions. But essentially what we're learning is that Navy leaders are saying that when Bahrain got hit by Iranian missiles at the beginning of this war, that essentially caused a ripple effect. We saw thousands of non-essential personnel from that base get evacuated. And this is really Fifth Fleet's logistical headquarters. This is where Navy ships in the region would go to get resupplied. But of course, with the Lincoln, they haven't had a port call in 208 continuous days. And now supply ships weren't able to go to that base. So they had to look for an alternative option. In the past, the Navy has used ports in Kuwait or the United Arab Emirates, but those had similar problems where they were within striking distance of Iranian missiles. So then the Navy could have looked at trying to get supplies through the Mediterranean, but that would have involved the Red Sea. And they had the same concerns there because the Houthis were threatening to attack commercial vessels in the Red Sea. So they had to pivot to Diego Garcia, which is a tiny island in the Indian Ocean, 2,200 miles away from the Gulf of Oman, which is where these aircraft carriers were sitting. So instead of being able to resupply these ships every 3 days like they would have been able to do if they went to Bahrain, they weren't able to resupply the ships except in 10-day cycles. And Diego Garcia is simply just not big enough. It doesn't have the capacity to hold the amount of supplies that you would need for 2 carrier strike groups. So as you said in the very beginning, Alicia, at the heart of the matter here is Navy leaders are saying that simply the administration thought this was going to be a few weeks long war, and it's turned into now we're going into month 6. And that's really what has caused all of this to have a trickle down effect on the service members not being able to get food and basic hygiene supplies.
I want to play for you, Priya, some of what Congressman Greg Gassad said about this situation. Take a listen.
On the USS Lincoln, we had our soldiers, our service members, in deplorable conditions. Their parents, including their parents in my own district in Central Texas, were speaking out about this. And Donald Trump said, "I wish the deployment could go longer. It should just go longer." We had Donald Trump lie and say we weren't going to get into forever wars. Then you've got Pete Hegseth saying we could be in the Strait of Hormuz, quote unquote, indefinitely. Those were his words.
Priya, what are you hearing from those military families now?
I think that, Alicia, there's a lack of trust between these service members' families and the administration because, like I said before, at the very beginning, they were told that this was going to be just a few weeks long mission. They were going to be able to come home potentially in May. And then they saw their deployment extended and extended. And then to make matters worse, essentially we're hearing that the president is calling these service members and their families liars. And I think that these are some of the most patriotic people in our country. They've chosen to wear a uniform to defend our freedoms. And so to call them liars, I think it's really a slap in the face. And if, I had one family member say that she essentially feels like she's being gaslit, like their concerns are being minimized here. And so what they are really trying to focus on right now is the positive news in all of this, which is that the Lincoln is on its way home to San Diego.